This salesman is convincing an elderly man to buy a sports car, skillfully using persuasive language to secure the purchase. The salesman's name is Dan, and he's a top performer at the car showroom, consistently winning Employee of the Month. The manager wants to feature him on the company's website, but Dan, as always, declines, citing his anniversary plans. He passes the opportunity to a less reputable colleague named Hal, who has a mischievous look reminiscent of Bugs Bunny. Dan drives home and wishes his wife
happy anniversary.
He greets his daughter Nina, son Kyle, wife Jessica, and their toddler Max. Dan asks Kyle to babysit Max so he and Jessica can go out, but Kyle passes the duty to Nina, canceling her plans and annoying her. Kyle then heads to his friend's house to stream games in a well-equipped garage. That same night, Dan and his wife Jessica went to an amusement park together to celebrate their anniversary. They decided to ride the roller coaster, enjoying the thrill and excitement. As Dan was kissing Jessica, a punk from a nearby group took their picture without their consent. Dan pleaded with the guy to delete the photo, but instead the punk responded by bullying Dan, showering him with juice. After being ashamed in front of his wife, they returned to home. While showering, he feels ashamed and angered at the same time. He checks his son's diaper and changes it and then goes back to sleep with his wife. Jessica is in a training club punching the bag with others. Accidentally, she punches the lady beside she was training with. Later, Jessica confesses to her that she feels trapped and wanted her life to be bigger. Dan, although he is a good husband and dad, is a total homebody. She gave her a business card which managed interstate travels. Dan was at the supermarket with his baby when he spotted a thug. The crook tried to attack Dan, but he skillfully defended himself and his child, thwarting the thug's attempts. Despite the chaos and the onlookers failing to call the cops, Dan protected his baby and fought off the attacker. After the fight, which left half the store in disarray, he finally purchased a diaper. On the way home, he drove like a madman. Now here is a twist about Dan. Though he looks really like a homebody, but actually, he has a lot of enemies. He looks for the documents which he has secretly hidden in one of the stairs with his guns and other confidential stuff. He then takes out 2 bags of cash from the stairs. He calls someone he knows who can prepare him some passports as his existing ones are expired. He packs up and sets out to find Nina, only to discover she quit her editor job 3 months ago. After bribing a journalist for her location, he finds her hanging out with friends under a stadium. Next, he heads to the garage where Kyle streams his games, discovers his gaming setup, and tells him to get in the car. Dan then reaches his wife and informs her that they're heading to Las Vegas.
We're going to Las Vegas today.
Well, you said you wanted to be more spontaneous. I heard you.
As they're leaving, Dan spots a car of his enemies. He tricks them, and once they've left, he continues on his way. While driving, Dan realizes he's being tracked. He heads to his workplace, lifts the car, and finds the tracker underneath. After removing it, he hides until the coast is clear. Once the pursuers are gone, he places the tracker on Hal's car to divert them. The journey takes them from Buffalo to Vegas. During the trip, Dan demands everyone's phones and throws them out of the car, leaving everyone stunned. However, he soon realizes they can't navigate without a map. So he stops at a nearby vehicle service station, obtains a map, and continues their 33-hour trip. Dan's enemies broke into his house but found nothing. Meanwhile, at a lodge, Nina teased Kyle about his gaming withdrawals, prompting him to retort that she lacks identity beyond Trevor. The scene shifts to Dan, rehearsing his confrontation and planning to warn his pursuers that there's no turning back once they're in Vegas. He books 2 rooms for the night but overhears that Kyle, known as Killboy, is famous, and one of his fans might post a picture of him online. He lied to them that,
Did you get some rooms?
No, they're all booked. We gotta keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
As they continued their journey, Dan's enemies watched from a bridge. They got on bikes to follow him. Sensing the danger, Dan quickly connected his headphones to the car, turned on some soft music, and took out a gun, attaching a silencer. He swiftly shot the bikers, knocking them off their bikes and even pushing one onto a billboard. Next morning, they all wake up in Iowa. Nina tells them that they should visit the SAU campus that she's chosen for herself. Dan takes them to the college. In the college, someone challenges Nina to do a handstand, which she does effortlessly, impressing everyone. In the campus, he spots someone who wasn't in the group before, so he confronted him, but it turned out he was a genuine professor who had samples of grains in his suitcase. Instead, another guy came in and tried to shoot him. Dan fought with him, shattering the equipments in the lab. How come there are no CCTV cameras and security in this building? Nina goes to meet Trevor, who looks like a monkey, but she has caught him cheating with another girl.
Oh my God.
Hang on a second.
Oh my God.
You're cheating on me.
She comes back to her family and Dan comforts her and tells her about
Kyushu Jitsu?
Kusha what?
Kyushu Jitsu, which can inflict extreme pain to a particular pressure point. She goes back to Trevor and makes him suffer with extreme pain. Now feeling happier, she came back and they left for their trip to Vegas, passing from Iowa to Nebraska, Colorado, Utah. Dan calls Augie, the guy who had prepared him fake documents, who tells him he is about to reach where he was. Kyle then confronts Dan about his career in gaming and how cool he feels when he is Killer Boy. Kyle then challenges him for a round of laser blink match, and if Kyle wins, he will be allowed to continue his game career. And if Dan wins, Kyle will play ball in the backyard for 6 months. Kyle tries his best, but Dan was well trained and so he defeats him. Finally, they arrived at Las Vegas in an amazing hotel to stay. There Dan meets Augie, who hands him the ticket to Vancouver in return of a bag of cash. While getting ready, Dan keeps a gun with himself just in case. He takes Jessica to a restaurant but gets followed by his enemy. Behind their back, Kyle and Nina were enjoying the Vegas. While exploring, Kyle takes Nina to gaming place where he starts gaming. On the other side, Dan is trying to confront Jessica with what's going on, but he gets interrupted every time. While Kyle competed in the tournament finals, Dan and Jessica were gambling. Dan called their hotel room, but with the kids out, no one answered. They returned to their suite and mistook props in the beds for their children. Jessica went to the bathroom to freshen up, but there was a man standing in the bath space. Unaware, she set a romantic ambiance in the room. Dan noticed a laser sight on him and quickly ducked behind the counter. He shot 2 intruders, but then another enemy emerged, holding Jessica hostage. Dan threw a knife, hitting the assailant and causing him to fall. Dan, who was actually Sean, apologized to Jessica and tried to confront her, but then she went to the kids' room and checked to see nothing but the fake props instead of their children. Jessica was already angry about Sean and didn't want to hear any justifications. In Hyper X, Kyle's victory secured the Valkyrie team's win. Sean and Jessica arrived, relieved to find Kyle, Max, and Nina. Sean revealed he was a former assassin, now hunted by his old colleagues, but the kids were skeptical. Suddenly, an assassin ambushed them, and they fled. Sean fired a few shots, but the assassin's vest protected him. In a decisive move, Sean pulled out 2 guns and took the assassin down, ensuring their safety. That night, Sean opened up to his family. His mother died when he was 4, and his father was beaten in a violent incident. At 18, he joined the army and later worked for McCaffrey, who covertly eliminated terrorists and criminals. Sean admitted to killing 43 people. McCaffrey grew greedy, using his team as mercenaries. Sean left, prompting McCaffrey to turn against him and harm his friends and mentors. Sean gave them fake passports, but they refused to join him. Jessica and the kids began to leave, believing they'd be safer without Sean. They took a cab to the airport where they noticed a private jet. Surprised, they got out, and Gwen emerged, offering them a ride home. Gwen shared a story about her ex-boyfriend who left her for another woman. She explained how she gained the woman's trust and trapped her. Disturbed by this, Jessica decided to leave but was stopped by McCaffrey. McCaffrey took Sean's family as hostages, video calls Sean to blackmail him. He calls him in a casino to meet him alone. He arrived at the casino and of course it was pretty huge and it was about to be demolished soon in 10 days. When he reached to McCaffrey, he called him his son and everyone went to shock as they realized that he is one of his family. McCaffrey insists him to join his family business once again, but he denies it, so he orders Gwen to shoot the entire family to death, fearing which Sean agrees. Sean's family leaves, but the kids are against abandoning their dad. Jessica strategically takes out Max's diaper and pushes the guy with them down the floors. Jessica takes his gun and goes back to the top floor to meet Sean. Gwen was trying to make out with him, but he did his Kyushu Jitsu on her neck to render her unconscious. There, Sean apologizes for everything. Down the building, when McCaffrey was about to leave, he gave a call to his guy, but his phone wasn't getting picked up. He got skeptical and sent his men to find Sean. He used the drone to see the men approaching and teamed up with Kyle to get them all down. Meanwhile, he sent Jessica and kids to the roof. There was a lift coming down in which there exploded a bomb. Sean threw the sniper shooter down.
He's up there!
And in the guidance of Kyle, he fought with the guards. Gwen was conscious again. McCaffrey informed her that
Kids got the drone
and ordered her to find them. Jessica, on the other hand, hidden the kids under a table and was standing in front of the lift with a gun in her hand, waiting for Gwen to shoot at her. As the lift opened, Jessica shot all the bullets of the gun, but Gwen was hiding on the side of the lift. Jessica fought with her on the rooftop while Sean fought with the McCaffrey's men downstairs. Jessica was being severely beaten by Gwen. The kids kept moving to avoid capture. Jessica got trapped in the rubble but managed to free herself, only for Gwen to throw her down again. Jessica then tries to be cool by trying a pole vault with a rotten bamboo and... Yeah, that might have hurt both ways. She tries to do that again, or maybe that's what Gwen thought. Downstairs, McCaffrey shot the drone down, and the final fight between Sean and McCaffrey began. Just before McCaffrey was about to shoot Sean, Nina appeared with others and started giving the life-changing advice to him, but that was just to distract him. Sean finally made his last hit before killing him. The cops finally arrived outside of the casino, and they finally walked out happily. After 6 months, Sean has started a new security business. Jessica became a gymnastics coach. Kyle pursued his gaming career, and the entire family was now going to get Nina's admission at Stanford.